Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of our series on color grading. In the last episode, we covered some basic tools in Premiere Pro, but if you need to do more robust color work, the best option is to send your project to DaVinci Resolve, then bring your final grade back into Premiere. In this episode, I'll show you how to do that. This process can be a little clunky, and I'll address some of those issues. I have my final sequence here, and I'm going to make a copy of that sequence and name it For Color, and open that up. This is where you'll prep your sequence for export by removing any effects you might have on your clips and flatten your sequence down to one track. I've done that already, and I'll also delete the audio, leaving me with a clean timeline of just the visuals. Now go to File, Export, Final Cut Pro XML, and save your XML. If there are any problems, you'll get a warning like this one, and Premiere will create a text file next to your XML. Let's open that and see what's wrong. It says I have an effect called Warp Stabilizer in one of my clips, so I'll go back to my timeline. Here it is, delete it, and retry. You can also select all your clips, right-click, and choose Remove Attributes to remove all effects. Okay, this time it worked with no errors. I'll open up DaVinci Resolve and start a new untitled project. Before we import our Premiere XML, there's one bit of housework we need to do. Sometimes Premiere and DaVinci don't play well in terms of clip sizing. So to fix that, go to File, Project Settings, and under Image Scaling, change Input and Output Scaling to Center Crop with no resizing. Now, if your video is for the web, you should change your timeline's color space, because otherwise you won't see the video the way it will look to your viewers. Under Color Management, at the top, change your timeline color space to sRGB. If you really want to see a correct preview of your colors, you'll have to use a calibrated monitor that allows you to use RGB color space. But even if you don't, making this change here will help. Now we're ready to import. Under File, we're going to Import Timeline, Import XML, and choose our XML file. It should import your settings, and you can keep all this default. And it's imported our timeline exactly as it was in Premiere. Now you'll go to the Color tab at the bottom, and I'm going to give my entire timeline a really quick color grade. We'll go over how to do this in episode 3. Once you've finished working on your project, you'll go to the Delivery tab, and at the top choose Premiere XML. Choose an empty folder for your final output, and under Render Settings, because we have no audio, we can uncheck audio. Now this isn't going to render one flattened file, it's going to render out individual clips and give you an XML to rebuild your timeline in Premiere. But when it does that, it only renders exactly what you've cut in your timeline. What if you need to make future edits and add a half second somewhere? Under Advanced Settings, if you add frame handles, and I usually add 24, it'll add an extra second of footage to both sides of your clip and just give you a little leeway. Click Add to Render Queue, and over here hit Start Render. Now we're finished rendering, so I'm going to go back into Premiere, and I'm going to make a new folder called Color Grade. Make sure that folder's selected, and go to File, Import, and here's my output from DaVinci, all my clips plus an XML. I'll choose that and hit Import. So we have all our clips here and a new sequence. I'll double-click that sequence, and here's a new version of our timeline with our graded clips. Each of them has those extra frame handles just in case you need them. I'll copy this and I'll go back to my final sequence. If I make sure only my empty track is selected, I can paste my new graded clips on top of my raw footage. And there you go. In the next episode, I'll show you how to use some of DaVinci Resolve's professional color grading tools to create these grades. Thanks for watching.